Industry Insider brought to you by Jay Dillon, coming to you from Australasian Worldwide Music Expo for 2012, and first guest here for 2012, Malcolm Haynes. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Slightly jet lagged,
Slightly, yeah.
but I'm here, healthy.
Yeah, well, it's a long flight all the way from the UK, and it's always a pleasure to have you over here and speaking on the panels and giving us your wealth of knowledge. You've actually had a year off from Glastonbury.
Yeah.
That's an interesting situation to be in. What happens in a year off with a festival like that? What do you guys continue to go out looking for talent, or what happens?
Yeah. Well, firstly, obviously the farm gets a rest from the thousands of people sort of on site. But it's also an opportunity to kind of look back, reflect, make changes, and I've got some big changes coming up in my area particularly. I think you're right. I mean, I never stop looking at bands. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of out there all year looking and just seeing what to put on the following year.
Mm-hmm. What's the we never really got into it before, but what's the travel regime like? I guess you could call it for yourself. Traveling and looking at bands. Where do you go? What regions are you're hitting and stuff like that throughout the year?
Well, this year I've been to like Israel and France and Korea and New Zealand and obviously back to Australia here. But I mean, apart from that, I mean, mainly that's conferences where I'm speaking on panels and sort of, going to showcases. But I spend quite a lot of time in London, sort of, checking out the bands as they come in, sort of, to do their sort of London tours. And occasionally I might get up to Manchester or Liverpool. But and obviously my hometown of Bristol, we get quite a healthy array of bands come round. So yeah, so I'm kind of out there all the time looking.
Guess that's a smart thing to do. Let everyone come to you, especially when London's like the mecca for live music and touring.
Well, it's only about an hour and a half on the train, so it's not too far to go. I've got quite a few friends in London, so it's a good opportunity to sort of meet up with them as well.
Yeah. Now I know. Outside of Australia, the music conference circuit has always been huge, and only in the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years here in this country, it's really become a focal point in the music industry, especially for people outside of the business itself. How do you see the growth of that now worldwide on a music conference circuit?
Well, I think each territory is different, isn't it? I mean, I've just been to Korea, and although personally I didn't really see anything out there that I would personally book, I don't think. Although I am considering a couple of K-pop acts I saw. But I just think that as kind of technology gets better, the world kind of gets smaller, and I think what's happening is that more and more of these conferences are popping up. I've also had an invitation to go to India in February. So I think all these regions and territories are sort of all jumping on the bandwagon of having these like international conferences.
You speak of India. Is that really starting to? Is the Indian music scene really starting to make an impact in the UK as far as artists touring through there and that sort of thing?
I don't think so much mainstream, but I think mainly as the kind of the world music scene. I think India's always had quite a big input, especially with organisations like WOMED, WOMAD and WOMEX, sort of taking an interest in India and sort of getting some of those acts over. So for me, it's going to be more like a fact-finding mission, really, just to see what's going on. Because, I mean, not just sort of Indian sort of world culture or indigenous music, but they've got a pretty healthy pop scene as well. So it'd be interesting to check that out.
I remember a few years ago at the One Movement Festival in Perth for the 2 years that it was on. I met Raghu Dixit, who has played Glastonbury before, and he was explaining to me that only 5-6 years ago the independent commercial sort of music scene in India really started to explode. It was always Bollywood up until that point. When you see artists like that coming from India performing at Glastonbury, from what I know, it was really well received. Does that drive you as a booker to go back into those territories, or like you said, is it really just a fact-finding mission at the moment? Because he is quite.
I think it's for me it's fact-finding. I mean, Rashid when he played, I mean, I actually booked that, but then at that particular time I was booking the jazz world stage, whereas I'm sort of booking mainly dance genres. So so if and when I go to India, I'll be kind of looking for that, those sort of genres. What will fit into, for my audience within the area that I book.
So you've moved into a new area since I've spoken to you last
No,
time?
no. It's the same area. We're just changing the name, having a revamp, just giving it a fresher look. New structures and just a kind of new direction. It's going to be called Silver Haze.
Okay.
It's still going to have 5 or 6 venues, with like the biggest venue being about 10,000 and the smallest venue being 1,000. And it kind of accommodates, quite a healthy nighttime program. It's not just in the daytime. So we kind of carry on to about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and we also have a silent disco in a couple of the venues, and that goes on till 7. So it's quite a vibrant area.
Quite a long day.
It is a very long day.
Yeah,
it's a very long week.
Yeah, I bet it is. So what prompted the change? What prompted the rebranding, I guess you would say?
Well, we kind of kicked off. We kicked off the dance tent in '95, and we kind of ran it for 10 years. And each year it got bigger and bigger. The tent, we sort of started off with 2,500 capacity, and it went up, in kind of 2004 to about 15,000 capacity tent, which is a massive amount of people. And I think just with the changes of dance music, it was kind of recognised that we weren't able to cater for all the genres within the sort of the dance music umbrella. So we kind of went back to the drawing board and created the Dance Village, and that was in 2005. And so now, sort of next year being 2013, we're just having a year off. It gave me the opportunity to sit back and have a look. And hence that's why we're going to do all these changes, because we just want to, Glastonbury is kind of known as the big dada of all festivals. So I just think that in order to keep the interest, I think it was right to look at the area and revamp it. And next year people will come back and go, oh my God, this is pretty good.
Well, I guess you've got to reinvent if you want to stay ahead of the rest. But I mean, has Glastonbury ever been in danger of being that festival that it's not going to be on top though?
I don't think so. I think there's always a problem with festivals, everybody sharing the same headliners.
Yeah.
And I think with Glastonbury, it's quite unique, isn't it? I mean, it sells out in an hour, 140,000 tickets, with no lineup announced at all. And there's no doubt probably 500,000 people or so chasing those 140,000 tickets. So we're in a great position. So. And I think, we didn't have one last year, but pretty much every year we win most awards for, best festivals. So I don't know. I'd like to think that will continue. That success will continue. It's a beautiful site. Have you been?
No, not yet.
There's just nothing like it in the world. It's really is quite unique.
I think it's third year chatting to you, man. I think it's time I get an invite to come over and do some interviews for next year.
See if I can get some spare.
Can we sort that out? I'm not talking about. I'll just walk on for the day. That's fine. I'm quite happy to, and just stop and have a look at Stonehenge on the way past is all I want to do.
Yeah.
But now you're on a panel, Festivals of the World. You're on it every year.
Yeah.
What changes during that panel? I mean, what are the main questions, and do you try and take it in a different direction when you sit on that panel?
I don't know really. I think I just wait to see what sort of questions are asked from the moderator. I normally talk about Glastonbury and its kind of size and what I think makes it quite unique. But yeah, I really don't know. Until I've asked those questions, I kind of I don't actually pre-think any answers. I'm kind of like sort of shoot those answers when the questions come.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes of Glastonbury, with the year off, do you is the team of Glastonbury that puts the actual festival together? Do you catch up as a team? Do you have meetings? What happens there?
Yeah, I think we always sort of stay in contact with I do stay in contact with the various sort of people at the farm. Like the main organisers. I have a few meetings with Michael throughout the year, and with Emily, who's his daughter. And we've just had a management meeting, literally a couple of days ago, where the kind of the inner core of 100 people sort of get together, and then it's we're kind of told what the new what the new changes are and what the plans are for the future.
And what are the plans for the future? Can you let us in on anything for next year?
I can't let you in on nothing apart from
Apart from we've sold out 140,000 tickets.
apart from we're sold out, and we're looking at some really quite interesting headliners. Maybe a good old heritage band, but I'm not prepared to say.
Right, okay.
I'm not prepared to say who at the moment.
Yeah. Hinting in a few directions.
I'm not even going to hint. I'm not going to get in trouble.
All right, no, that's fine. I don't want to get you in trouble because you never talk to me again if I do that.
Yeah.
All right, Malcolm. Well, thank you very much for your time once again. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you every year. And well, you can't get tickets to Glastonbury, so it's said and done. But you
can watch it online.
You can watch it online. Are you broadcasting through YouTube or through the main website?
I think the BBC do a massive amount of coverage.
BBC 3 and 2 and
it's BBC 1 and BBC, and then you've got Radio 1 and Radio 6. So I mean, it's quite an extensive coverage, and I think quite a lot of it's online as well.
Maybe we should start instigating backyard parties where people can watch from from Australia.
Maybe.
That might be a good idea.
Really
We're
good.
Always up for an excuse for a party.
Okay.
All right, mate. Thanks very much for joining
thank
us.
you.
It's Malcolm Haynes here from Glastonbury at the Australasian Worldwide Music Expo 2012.